Way. Well, we spoke a little earlier to Gawali Pasarale, an Afghan political refugee who left Afghanistan in 2006 due to the war there, and we were talking about what drives someone to take extraordinary risks to flee a conflict zone. You were listening to that. What did you think of the response from the EU there?
Hello again. I think I appreciate what she has to say, but I think the problem is Europe is focusing on protecting borders rather than protecting people. I'm sad. Anyone with humanity should be sad as what has happened. This is not the first time. Since the year 2015 began, we have over 1,500 people been killed in the sea. The issue is this could have been saved. These lives could have been saved, and that is the sad point for me. This could have been prevented by showing more humanity and showing more kindness and doing things with morality. Yes, what she's saying makes sense, but you know, it's about people. It's not so much about the smugglers. Yeah, smugglers are a problem, as we discussed before, but it's about the people who have been forced to flee, and they flee because of our policies, because of our immigration policies, because of our foreign policies. The West could do much better, particularly Europe could do so much more. And I certainly like the point on sharing responsibility. I think there's far too much burden on the southern state, Italy, Greece, Spain, and the Western, Northern Europe doesn't really take the same responsibility, doesn't share the same concerns as those states. I think they need help, and this is not even a European crisis, this is a global crisis.
And in terms of some of the details, she talked about increased funds for the rescue operations at sea. Of course, there's been a lot of controversy about that. That will be welcome. But it was interesting when she was talking about the people traffickers and talking about Libya providing a perfect corridor. The answer to that appeared to be that we need a national unity government in Libya. The problem, the very obvious problem, is that we are a million miles away from that. And so in terms of getting any sort of immediate change, well, that looks a long way off.
Indeed, and that's the thing. It's the solution she is providing is a short term. It's not long term. Libya is in this mess. Libya is stateless and lawless because of the Western, because of Europe, because of America's intervention in the way things were done, and things were just left when it was done. There was no government. There was no proper system. Now, yes, you can strengthen Libyan government. There could be hopefully a national unity government. The state could become normalized, but that wouldn't solve the problem. The problem is bigger than that, and she needs to realize and understand. And also because of the funding, like, we have election in Britain and election in Europe. There's a huge focus on immigration. There is not much about, you know, showing our humanity and showing who we are and what should we be standing for. It just
Sure.
saddens me. It upsets me to see people like Nigel Farage, people like
Sure.
the UKIP.
But that's some of the politics of it. When you stand back from the politics, because all of these people who are making these perilous journeys, they're not really thinking about the politics. Is any of what you've heard likely to put somebody off making the sort of journey that last week we saw them make?
I think, in my opinion, I think people will still make journey as long as there's no peace, as long as there's instability and insecurity, as long as there's wars and conflicts in the Middle East and North Africa. People couldn't care less what she says, because people knows, like, they have extraordinary circumstances. They face with choice, because like even in Afghanistan, we have seen last week, yesterday, in eastern Afghanistan, over 220 people been killed in a suicide bombing. You're not sure when you leave the house in the morning that you will return home alive, you will come back home alive. So people will leave. I mean, if there was peace, people will not leave, even though if they were poor. The point is, more needs to be done on the front of making sure countries are stabilized and there is no military intervention, but rather than solutions to have a system in place where people live in peace and people live with their families and friends in their own country.
Okay, Gawali Pasarale, thank you very much for being with us here on today's